Core Competency 1, Professional Values and Ethics. Throughout the video, the social worker demonstrates empathy by thanking Lucy for her time and for coming in and for being open and honest about how she's feeling and the topic that she brings up. And the social worker also reflects back the courage it takes to open up about this subject. I ask questions to help prompt the client to talk about her fears of coming out, but I don't chastise her or I don't tell her that her fears are unfounded. In further sessions, I would continue to engage Lucy in a way that reflects her diversity, in the sense of she belongs to a very diverse community, and the fact, or she's diverse in the fact that her sexuality isn't that of the majority population. Also, she's very young compared to the average. As a social worker, I would use language that is appropriate for her age and also appropriate for the community that she thinks she feels she belongs to. Would never use derogatory terms in any way. So in regards to competency 2, which is professional relationship skills, at the beginning of the session, I introduced myself and the agency. I talked about what the agency does and that I was the social worker for the agency. And at the end of the session, I thank Lucy for her time and I encourage her to stay in contact. For example, I say, I hope to hear from you soon. Lucy doesn't actually agree to services, but we do offer her any resources that she thinks that they would be useful for her. In the first session, there wasn't any need to involve a supervisor or other staff members because this was the initial session. In further sessions, should any questions or concerns arise, I would definitely utilize the supervisor. One way in which other staff members would be utilized is through the facilitation of groups, should Lucy decide to attend. So in regards to core competency number 3, professional roles, I demonstrated appropriate professional boundaries through my proximity with the client. I didn't sit super close to her, but I didn't sit way far away to distance myself from her. I sat close enough to have a comfortable conversation, but not close enough that she was uncomfortable with the proximity. I also used nonverbal cues to encourage Lucy to keep talking by nodding my head. I was also appropriate, once again, in the language I used. Would never use a derogatory term. Would have to be careful about the way that I addressed her and I talked to her because of her age and because of the community that she belongs with too. In regards to the 4th competency, responsiveness to a multicultural society. Throughout the sessions, I would continue to ask questions that are sensitive to her culture, her sexuality. I discussed her concerns in regards to her demographic status and how impacted her fears of coming out. In demographic status, and the fact that she comes from a religious background, and she mentions that she is the preacher's daughter. She feels like because she's the preacher's daughter that they kind of use her for her popularity because her school is faith-based. It's a religious school. So she demonstrates a lot of conflict between her religious value system and her sexuality. And I would be mindful of this throughout our sessions. One strength that I would identify and work with Lucy to acknowledge is the courage it takes to be open about her sexuality. It took a lot for her to come out to me at that time, and it would take a lot for her to open up to any of her family and friends, and that is definitely a strength that she's even considering it. Another strength that I identified was her commitment to theater. But I said, it sounds like theater is something that you are good at and would like to continue on with after high school. This would be a strength in the fact that she is doing something that she enjoys, and it's something that she could possibly pursue and make a career out of. Another strength that I identify is her support system and her relationship with her mom and dad. Despite her conflict, she still has a good relationship with her mom and dad. She Skypes her mom. She feels like she can talk to her dad about certain things. But that's definitely a strength because they are a support, and it would definitely be a go on a basis if they would be open about her sexuality. Before beginning an intervention, I would reflect back to Lucy's situation and ask her questions that allow her to create her own intervention plan. We always strive for client determination, so she has to agree to the intervention plan. For example, I would talk about the conflict between her religious value systems and her sexuality and how it would impact her relationship with her father should she ever decide to come out. In regards to the fifth core competency, gathering and recording of information on client systems, I clearly explained the limits of confidentiality in the first session. I talked about how I would have to report if she proved to be a danger to self or danger to others. But I also talked about that we would have an honest discussion about it, and I would tell her I have to report this to someone else based on what you're saying. I ended the session by explaining again what we kind of provide, and I encouraged her to involve herself in support groups and all the other services that the agency has to offer. She has to agree to it. She has to take the first step. And in further sessions, I would ask Lucy if it's all right for me to take notes on the sessions. I didn't take notes in the first session because it was just kind of that initial intake. In regards to the sixth core competency assessment, should she agree to further sessions, they would be conducted in which an intervention plan would be created. I would identify Lucy's situation. She thinks she's gay and she's concerned about her friends and family would take the news because of her religious value system. She doesn't feel that she has a lot of support systems. Two strengths that she would be identified throughout the sessions is her love of theater. She feels that she can be herself in theater, and I would encourage her to pursue that maybe outside of school even, and hopefully open up to others and create another support group. And so she has a good relationship with her father despite her concerns that he wouldn't be agreeable to the news. So despite her concerns, she does have some supports in her life, and this would be a strength that I would encourage her to acknowledge and base her intervention plan on. Another huge strength that would be addressed is her desire to seek help with such a huge life decision. Even at such a young age, a lot of people don't consider this until they're older, and so that shows a certain maturity that others her age may not have. One barrier that would be addressed is definitely the conflict between her religious value systems and her sexuality. Unfortunately, in certain religions, homosexuality is seen as a sin, and she attends a religious high school, and that could be a barrier. People could ostracize her because she could be bullied, she could be harmed because of her sexuality. However, I wouldn't necessarily focus energy on it. It would be more focused on helping her build and retain her support systems. In regards to the seventh core competency, the intervention plan, after the initial sessions, should Lucy agree on services, the social worker would address what she wants and needs. One possible need that Lucy discusses and the social worker asks about is the need of a support system. Beyond theater and school, she doesn't feel that she has very many friends. She identifies one friend, but that's it. And she's not sure how her friend would take the news. Like I said, because she attends a Christian-based school, she feels like she could be ostracized for her life decisions, her life choices. Another need that Lucy could possibly identify is feeling safe at school. As a social worker, it would be my responsibility to work with the school to ensure that Lucy feels and is safe should anything occur. A want that Lucy could possibly identify is other opportunities related to her passion for theater. The social worker could help Lucy get set up with theater classes outside of school, which could also help her meet others who could be involved in her support system. I outlined the next steps. No other steps can be taken until she agrees to services. In regards to the termination transition phase, I articulated the next steps that would be taken. I gave her contact information and told her to feel free to attend any of the support group that the agency offers. Termination wouldn't be addressed for a considerable time because regardless of whether Lucy is attending any one-on-one sessions, she would be free to attend any of the support groups offered until the age of 22. I would ensure that Lucy is prepared for termination by working with her long before this actually happens. And one useful way to prepare the client for termination would be to have a countdown. For example, after today, we have 3 more sessions left, 2 more, etc. Another important thing to consider with termination is helping Lucy find outside resources once her time with the social worker is over. In regards to the macro intervention skills, unfortunately, there is a high suicide rate for teenagers, especially teenagers who belong in the LGBTQ community. It's something that I should always keep in mind when working with Lucy, and should any red flags arise, it would definitely warrant a discussion, and that would be a breach of confidentiality also. One referral within the community that I could utilize is Teen Lifeline. This is a crisis suicide prevention hotline that teens can phone in and talk to other teenagers. Another agency that offers support groups for this community and their friends and family is PLFAG Phoenix. Another great resource within the community is 1 in 10. They provide a safe space, support, information, referral, and communities to gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning youth and their straight allies aged 14 to 22. It's very important that she has a support system set up should she ever decide to come out, or for whatever she goes through in her life. In regards to the last core competency, application of theories of human behavior, through further sessions, the social worker would go into detail about Lucy's story and how she can recreate her own narrative. The social worker would address how her religious beliefs and upbringing played a role in her development and how it is affecting her present situation. This could create a huge conflict. Wrapping up, while the fundamental beliefs of her faith are unlikely to change, the social worker can work with Lucy to figure out how her feelings and her faith could work together. It's important to note that while Lucy should reach a point where she can be open and honest about her sexuality, forcing her to come out before she's ready is very detrimental. A plausible intervention would be setting up Lucy with support groups and resources within the community should she ever decide to make the decision for herself. Another key part of the intervention is making sure that she is safe at school by working with them to ensure that Lucy is not ostracized no matter her personal choices.